This is the Horsepower Hour.
Ladies and gentlemen, hello, and thank you once again for joining the Horsepower Hour, the only podcast with a salvage title. Joining me, as always, is the late, great Hoy Forticus and Masterson. How you doing, buddy?
I am doing great. Maybe even better than great, to be totally honest.
So good there could be two of you, huh?
Like it's Friday. I got it. It's Easter weekend. How bad could it be in the worst of situations? You know, living in America, not Ukraine or someplace, but
well, sure. I mean, at least it's not snowing, right? Speaking of snow on the ground, we've got a couple of special guests with us today. Brian Nilsen and Daniela Lewis. You guys are from the Circuit of the Northwest. Thank you so much for being here and joining us.
Yeah, we're happy to be here with you guys.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Oh, you guys, when I reached out to you, Daniela, I honestly wasn't sure if we'd be able to make it work or not. We're not the biggest podcast in the world, but man, we've been following the progress with the Circuit of the Northwest. And that's just like, don't make me regret moving out of Oregon, you guys, or at least the Pacific Northwest, you know?
We're going to.
You're gonna let it come back.
Yeah.
I've been actually looking forward to this interview for a while because I have a lot of questions about Circuit of the Northwest. And then I keep thinking to myself, so once Circuit of the Northwest is established, are you going to go ahead and move somewhere else, like, you know, wine country in Oregon, and maybe do this again, another sweet track, the whole setup, let PIR burn down and the humble take over?
Yeah, we have some plans, but we're trying to get this done. Obviously, it's a public-private project, so there's delays. I mean, we went through COVID, we went through some hurdles, obstacles, but I mean, we're full speed ahead right now. But yeah, I mean, this model definitely works, and so it's been years in the making, as you guys probably know, but it's vetted and really researched and taken best practices from tracks that are successful around the world, actually. So who knows, man? You might see some more of these. I don't know.
Well, my first question is a non-question. As an automotive enthusiast and a race car lover, I want to say thank you. Like, I'm not just blowing smoke. Like, new tracks never come along. Like the last new track in the Northwest that I'm aware of was the Ridge, which was, I don't know, was that 12 years ago now or something that went in, maybe even longer. And before that, I don't know, years. And if maybe Grass Valley, but that's in the middle of nowhere and it's not successful per se. So you guys building like a world-class track, thank you so much. Yes.
Yeah, it's much needed, and I think, I'm kind of new to the auto industry, car culture, if you will. I'm in the motorcycle world. That's kind of my heritage, my background. But I do know that this is much needed. We need a homologated FIA, road course in the Northwest. The other tracks like the Ridge and Pacific Raceways, they definitely have their place, and we're not trying to duplicate anything that they're doing. They have their place, and our goal is actually to make them more busy. So our model is a little bit different. We have a private club model. We'll have an event model with some select industry rentals instead of having typical like SCCA races and things like that. We'll have more OEM, more industry related rentals, events. Think of food and beverage and entertainment and things like that. So it's much needed, and the car cultures, I guess it's number 3 in the nation here, and it's very on the track and festival and event side, it's underserved. So we're looking to fill that gap.
And of course, you guys are located up near or in Bremerton, Washington, right?
Right.
Yeah, right in the we're right across the street from Bremerton National Airport.
That's perfect.
9 miles from the ferry.
Mm-hmm.
So we're kind of in that event, makes events possible. We work with the Seattle Sports Commission, and so their vision is, you fly into SeaTac, you light rail downtown, you use that infrastructure for hotels and restaurants, and then you ferry over and and we'll shuttle. We'll run shuttles and pick fans up from the ferry and run them 9 miles to the track. So
Nice.
the model works pretty good for events, and we're right in the middle of a traffic plan study right now. And the team's about 60% done with our public design. So we're looking to break ground this fall.
That's incredible, you guys. And it flashes me back to last week's episode, Coy, with Scott Gager.
Mhm.
What did he say? The Indianapolis pulled in 300,000 people?
I don't know the exact number, but it was a ridiculously large amount.
Yeah, it was something like that. And they're able to clear that entire motorsports complex out in an hour and 20 minutes because of the infrastructure and just the city of Indianapolis being there for them and be willing to, include their entrance and exit into their infrastructure. I know that this is getting a little probably boring for the people out there listening, but I mean, are you in talks like that with the city of Bremerton or the state of Washington?
Yeah, you're hitting on the question that we probably get the most is, when you start thinking about events, we have a 2-lane, pinches down to 2 lanes, Highway 3, and then it kind of opens up again, but it's going to be an issue, so we have a little bit of a traffic problem right now. So we get this question a lot, and the answer is shuttles. And I have been to Indianapolis. I went to the inaugural Brickyard 400 back in, that was 1994. I was on the NASCAR circuit. So we went to the inaugural race there, and we stayed at a hotel. And like you say, we were in and out of that place, like with all those people so quick. So it's funny you mentioned that. I do recall just hopping on a bus, and there's like literally no cars allowed. And you just hop on a bus and you're there in like 10 minutes. So they got it figured out. They've been doing it a while. So we'll learn from them. Actually, our team is from Indianapolis. So the Joel Cohen group, they've been in motorsports for decades, and our motorsports engineers, they're Indiana natives. So, we have that heritage on our team. So
that's awesome.
You've found the city and the state to be supportive thus far.
Yeah. The city, I mean, we're in a port jurisdiction, and it's managed by the city. So we're on port property. Thankfully, they're very pro-growth, pro-development. And then the state highway, that's a TBD. We're starting to deal with them, but I don't deal with them. I'll have the port do that.
If the state highway deals with you at all, that's a great relationship. I believe I work construction, and the best relationships with the state transportation systems are often seemed more strained than they should, but that's state government for you. And I have to say, like, the support of the city and anything you can get from the state, I mean, that's such a huge deal. Because I mean, across the nation, I don't know how many tracks have been pushed out because there's cheap land around it, because it's noisy and it's a racetrack. People build houses there, they don't like the noise, and it's just a cycle of tracks being built, cheap housing, and then they don't like the noise, and the track goes away or gets restricted.
What crazy person builds a track nowadays? I mean, you have to thread the needle, and in our case, we run a facility across the street that got rezoned, so the port has a master plan that got approved by the FAA, and it displaces our. Go ahead.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but just to let you know, it's not stupidity; it's entitlement. That's why people do it.
Yeah, right. No, it's true. And the port they're supportive because we do a lot of public training. So we train the Navy, we train Kitsap Transit, bus drivers. We have certification training. They run these programs, 14 police agencies. We do EVOC for, all those sheriff's agencies. And then we do, what else do we do? We do festivals and concerts, a lot of public benefit. So the port really gave us a great lease on the other side of the highway on really land that isn't useful to them because it had a lot of topography. It's like, this hilly land inside the industrial park. It was expensive for them to develop, so a natural terrain road course kind of fits.
I love natural terrain road course.
Well, right. That's not hilly and unusable. That's what we like to call elevation.
Got it.
Yeah. So I actually have to ask you guys, do you have any idea yet what your elevation changes across the course are going to be?
Yeah. How pretty is it out there?
It is the most beautiful backdrop. The Olympic mountains are like a postcard. It's incredible.
Yeah.
Especially now there's snow. So it did snow yesterday down here.
Yeah.
It was crazy. But yeah, the mountains are chock full of snow. And so we have
this beautiful backdrop, 85 feet of elevation change to answer your question.
85 feet. Dang.
Yeah, it kind of goes away from you. So, the grandstands, Tilke design, right? So they came out and Christian App came out. It's been several years now, but he designed a track that, uses the existing land. Our cut and fill is equalized. But he looked at the piece of ground and explained it was the best piece of land that he's seen for a track facility. And
I love that.
he just fell in love with it. And so, we're in a public process, like I mentioned, but we wanted the harvest because you have to call it harvesting, not logging. So it's yeah. So we harvested a couple 100 acres of timber
in October.
Yeah. So that's when we started doing site visits. So we're like, hey, time out on the founder raise and corporate sponsorships, things like that, until we can bring people out to the site so they can really see what it looks like. Because once you set foot on that property, like Daniela mentioned, it's beautiful. So it's a little bit lower than the port land, and you get a good northwest feel with the mountains. We've left trees, a buffer around the track. It's really in the forest, and you do not feel like you're, across the street from a 6,000 foot runway. So we're just so lucky to have this piece of ground with all utilities and and a great public partner. The public partner is key because of what you said, noise, sound. A 737 can land next door, so the chances of people complaining about noise, people are going to complain because that's in our nature, but you can land a 737 right over here. So, we do operate a drag strip right now, and that we won't have a drag strip, so that's kind of the net loss of noise. So we're optimistic on the whole noise thing.
So that's actually something I was going to ask you, whether or not you're going to have drag racing. I know your front straight is just shy of a mile, but you do have the built-in chicane, right? There's not going to be a pass-through for high-speed racing, right?
Yeah, we have a pass-through, but it won't be a racing variant. Yeah.
Oh, right. It'll be like an emergency pass-through.
Right. Yeah. So we'll have I guess that would technically be turn 15, but yeah, we'll have a chicane for the race variant. No drag racing. We've talked about doing no prep drag racing. We just, we can't put VHT down on that straight away.
Sure.
Ice rink in the rain. Yeah. But we want to be a good community partner and get, kids off the street so they can blow some steam off on that front straightaway. It's 0.9 miles long. And so we can do, some 8th mile, maybe some quarter mile stuff, but that's
racing
TBD. Yeah.
You could do some roll racing. That's no prep.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. We do some of that now on our drag strip. So, those are the most fun events. They're crazy. These guys come in and they pack the place, number one, but they get them off the street, so it gives them a place to, flex, if you will. These street legal cars are just, the fastest car we had out there last year was a Jeep Cherokee.
Trackhawk. I'm gonna be real honest with you guys, though. There's lots of drag strips around where I'm at in Florida now. That doesn't stop people my age, by the way. Dudes my age rolling around 1,000 horsepower vehicles, street racing all the time. It's such a weird cultural difference. I like the way you're saying that. Get the kids off the street. Totally. Yeah. I get all that. I have to
wink. I have to jump in on that though, because when I was younger, like every sport has a venue. Like you can over here, you can literally go frisbee golf within 30 minutes, no matter where you live in the valley. Like,
Yeah.
but if you're into cars and you would like to go racing, it is not an easy task. And if you're, you know, a young kid, younger guy, it's close to impossible. And when I was younger, man, that was all I was into was cars. All my buddies were into cars. And it was just, it pushed us to do dumber things on the street. Eventually I got more into autocross, started doing some chump car stuff, and kind of that left that behind me a little bit. But if there were more programs where kids could go do a Saturday night hot lap, like, man, it would, I feel like it, because when I started actually doing some competitive racing, I realized that driving as fast I could on the back roads I wasn't even into that anymore, because I couldn't really push it like I did at the track, and it lost all its attraction for me and probably did me a ton of favors.
Yeah.
And I wish there was a better outlet for that for younger people, especially now that, like, we have the fastest cars ever made being made right now. I mean, and they're
easy. Yep.
They're four-door Toyotas and stuff. They're not even like, kids can have these cars. Like an Altima right now is way faster than the hot rod Hondas of the mid 90s, just miles ahead faster from the factory. So
yeah, you're hitting on all the things that we talk about daily, you can imagine, right? So, you know, the youth pathways. So we have to put on our public community hat. We are a public project, so we will have an education center. We haven't named it yet, but it'll be a technology lab, right? And so our youth pathways will be karting, it will be motocross, probably quarter midget racing. My son grew up quarter midget racing. You know, not every kid plays football, baseball, stick and ball sports.
Much to the chagrin of my father, by the way. He went to college on a baseball scholarship,
Mm-hmm.
and then I was born into cars and go-karts and stuff, and he was just like, well, great, fantastic.
Yeah. So I think the missing link, number one, is organization. You know, it's, you know, like if you're, I always compare it to soccer. You know, look at Europe and England, and, you know, we're trying to get our structures and our programs, you know, competitive with Europe. Well, it's going to take decades, right? So, I mean, they have it down over there, but it's the same, you know, we want those youth pathways. We can use them to develop talent, whether it's a driver, but what if we could, you know, have an educational component where you're developing curriculum off of, you know, the cars. Our three areas in our region are aerospace, aviation, maritime, and automobile. So we're going to use the curriculum will be developed off of our products, so whether it's a helicopter, a drone, a race car, a kart, and then you can develop curriculum like mechanical engineering, material science, and the list goes on. So that's the community part, you know, is getting the kids into karting, into quarter midget, into those things that we can develop, you know, those pathways, if you will. And I think that will, once we get that going, I mean, we have to get the track in and whatnot, which we are, but, you know, shortly after that, I call it phase 2, will be the educational component. We're getting our ass kicked in skilled labor. You know, there's such a shortage in about every area. And, you know,
I also am getting my ass kicked in skilled labor almost daily.
Well, no one has a good plan for it. Pisses me off, you know, so it's like our kids are growing up and then they're graduating and then they don't have the skills to go, the marketable skills. So then they have to go to, you know, Universal Technical Institute or I don't know. They're not graduating with marketable skills, and that's a problem.
And I gotta say, I mean, nobody wants to graduate with a UTI. And so we need to see more grassroots options there, you know. You guys, you've covered just about all of the questions I had for you. Really, there's just one question left. And that is my last one here. If you read the show notes, you saw it, but if you haven't, this is going to be new to you. If any car, and I mean any car, historically up to now, any car could be dropped into your garage right now, no questions asked, you didn't pay for it, you just snap your fingers and you get a vehicle in your garage right now.
Ooh.
What is it going to be? Let's start with you, Brian, but Danielle, I'm not letting you off the hook.
Okay.
Man, you know, I love the 917, the Porsche 917. love everything about it. I love the year. You know, I'm 1970. I love the whole story. Yeah, Porsche 917. I'll have one day. They're only $20 million.
I was gonna say they've only increased in value 400,000 times.
Like, from when I was a little kid, you know, you just picture what a race car should look like, and every time I go back to that car, it's like, that's it. That's my car.
That's
so.
it.
All right, Daniela, what do you think?
Well, the prancing horse is my spirit animal. So it's going to have to be the Ferrari Daytona SP3.
Whoa.
Ooh, another $20 million car. Nice, you guys.
Color.
White. Absolutely.
Oh, and I'm sorry to do this to you guys. We do have one more question. Will there be a dirt track? I don't think you said there would be a dirt track, right?
Oh, yeah, there will be. Yes.
Oh, there will be.
Yes. Yeah. There will be a dirt track. Yes. So Ryan Villapoto, 10-time national champion, 4-time Supercross champion. We work with him. So I do Pac West motocross with Ryan, and he will develop a motocross track. So we're working on the soil. You know, it'll be kind of a sandy, you know, soil that drains, gets water off, so we can ride in the winter months, maybe. So, but yes, there'll be motocross. You bet. That's another youth pathway.
Nice. All right, good.
I have one more question about this track, and not all tracks do this, so maybe you guys won't. But so my local track would be PIR, Portland International, and all the corners are just numbered, and a lot of tracks do that. Out the gorge, we have Grass Valley Raceway.
Sure.
And they've named most of the corners, and I love that so much. Are you guys gonna name the corners, or are you just gonna number them?
There'll be some names. I have some ideas. Yeah.
Good.
I have some people, very important people, that will honor. You know, but
I personally am honored to have one of the corners named after the show. I really appreciate that. You've heard it here first, folks. I mean, you know.
Yeah, we'll give you the most difficult corner. How's that?
I'm just fair warning right now. If it costs me more than $100, I'm not going to be able to swing it. Maybe we can work out something.
I would settle for whatever wall gets hit the most.
Right. Yeah.
Name the wall after me.
Right. I love it. Yeah, we'll name the corners. You know, I have them all memorized, of course. You know, and some of the corners are duplicates, actually. So 2, 3, and 4 are Istanbul Motorsports Park Turn 8. It's inverted. So that'll be probably the signature corner, along with Turn 12, which is kind of like the corkscrew. It'll be a little more mellow. It won't be as violent, but it'll drop 35 feet. It'll be cool.
Nice.
You guys will have to do a site visit one of these days. We're doing them almost every day, it seems like. So.
Oh, I'd love that.
Yeah,
it makes it so much better when you're telling your buddies about your day at the track, when you're like, so I just dropping into the half pipe, then I come up over Pucker Ridge, and you're like, you know, if you're sitting there just like, I went to turn 3 and 4 and it got a little sketchy, and then it just doesn't have the same ring to actual names for a corner, you know?
Yeah.
We all know, like, when people hit Gambon.
Yeah.
Top Gear. There you go, you know?
Right.
Hey, you guys, speaking of, before we get too off into the weeds, we do have a fake sponsor of the day. They made sure they wanted me to read the name. They're called Real Wheels. Now, only the word real is in quotation marks. I don't know why. That's just, you know, that's how the copy came. I don't know exactly what that means, but, you know, enjoy our commercial from our fake sponsor, Real Wheels. People are always asking me, are those wheels real? Yes, they are. Here at Real Wheels, we've got the rollers that you're looking for. All of our wheels are 100% homemade, genuine factory replica byproduct substitutes. As an environmentally minded company, we didn't remake the wheel, we cloned it. We base all of our real wheels off the bargain brands you love. Why buy XXRs, Rotas, Ankies, or Koenigs when you can get the real wheels for half the price? So next time someone asks you if your wheels are real, you can say yes. Real Wheels. And we do want to
Right on.
thank Real Wheels.
I love it.
All I can afford are replicas, so wah.
Coy, what do you think of real wheels, my friend?
If they can go ahead and make some real Advan the 3 spokes again, those are my favorite wheel of all time that are unobtainium for people like me. So if Real Wheel could make some of those at a convenient price, then I'm in.
They're going to fire up the 3D printer just for you, buddy.
Good. Can't wait till my wheel goes full Rhoda and leaves my car at speed.
All right. Well, you guys, we've got some news, and Brian, Daniela, we would love for you to hang around and crack wise with us. I think this is going to be some pretty interesting stuff relevant to just what's going on, especially with you guys. This first article I'm very interested in, and so I'm very curious to hear what everyone's thoughts are. In 2023, the Toyota GR Supra is slated to get an actual manual transmission.
Yes.
A lot of people think that was the key component that was missing. And I mean, we just need to be realistic about this. The Toyota Supra is based on the latest generation of, isn't it the 3-class BMW, Coy?
The Z car, the Z3 or whatever, their Secretary Mobile.
Right. So all that came with was the DSG transmission, or the dual clutch, excuse me, the dual clutch DCG. But now we're talking about getting a purpose-built 6-speed for the Supra. Now the Supra is available in the 2-liter 4-cylinder model or the twin turbocharged 3-cylinder inline 6. Most people are speculating right now that it's only going to be available with the higher end of the model. But, you know, the Toyota Supra has already proven itself to be incredibly capable. The new ones, I mean, they're fantastic. We've talked about this multiple times. Bolt-ons and a tune. Dudes are getting 500 horsepower out of these. But with a true manual transmission, what do you think? I mean, is this thing going to take off like straight into JDM God mode?
Well, I'm honestly a little scared about this because when it first came out, there was 2 complaints. It's not a real Supra because it's technically it's partnered with BMW and it's essentially a BMW, and it doesn't have a manual transmission. It has a DSG. Except for that DSG transmission turned out to be an excellent transmission.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody that raced them absolutely adores that transmission. I don't know that the manual is going to be a true upgrade. Like, I honestly think the DSG transmission is going to be faster at the track. It's going to be faster on the drag strip. It's going to be more tunable. And I know Toyota's doing hashtag save the manual, but because this is such a good DSG transmission, I wonder if I don't know if a lot of people are going to buy it. Like, I know for like the drifting crowd, this is obviously better for them, but all the other forms of motorsports that would use this vehicle, I think the DSG is the transmission you're going to want, sadly. Like, I can't believe I'm not rooting for a manual right now, but manuals are on their way out. DSGs do have some performance benefits. It's undeniable. So we will see what happens.
What do you think, Brian and Daniela?
Oh man, you guys' opinion. What do you think?
I don't know. I'd have to test it out.
You can drive a manual.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I like it. I mean, man, I hate to see them go away. I mean, I know technology happens. I mean, I'm in the motorcycle business, so the DCT has been in bikes for a long time, and purists don't really like it, but I'm a fan of both. But I think it's cool. I think the manual's awesome. Got to preserve it.
I appreciate that Toyota's doing it, and that Toyota's really been leaning into the racing heritage and stuff with their GR lineup here lately, and I'm proud of Toyota for doing this.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys probably didn't know Coy is a little bit of a Toyota fanboy, not like full Toyota fanboy, but he likes his Yodas, you know what I mean? And so seeing something like this, but I do think, you've got the GR86 that obviously is available with the manual. They've got their new Corolla GR that's only available with the manual. I mean, they very, very famously said, if you want to get a Corolla GR with an automatic, you can just turn on around and walk out the door you came through. So, the fact that you can get a manual now, or should be able to get a manual now with the Supra, it is kind of rounding that out. I think they're trying to draw in the performance crowd more. I don't necessarily know if they needed to, but I'm glad that someone there towards the top of the company is thinking about these things and putting this forward. You know what I mean?
Hmm. I think,
Sure.
yeah, I think anything that makes a car, you know, nostalgic and less of a commodity, you know, and puts a little spice into it and even some controversy, I think is a good thing. You know, I think that's where this whole thing's going. When we have tracks, you have, you know, that's a passion play, you know, like, hey, I need this, this will fit the track, you know. So I like to see companies coming out with the higher horsepower, with the performance. um, I didn't touch on a driving school. We will have a driving school, and it might be about 80 acres purpose built. So I am so pumped on that. So I think as we go into the future, this will be a pretty cool hobby, you know, because eventually we won't be able to drive, you know, these cars anymore in the cities, for example. You know, won't they be autonomous one day? What do your guys?
Oh yeah.
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 So,
Yeah, and that's, of course, we need that. I mean, true self-driving vehicles will never be truly self-driving in the way we need them to be until everything is automated. Because as long as there's one vehicle on the road that's still being piloted by someone else, that is a variable that the computers are not going to be able to account for. Now, I have my own thoughts about once everything's fully automated, we may see a lot more insurance fraud or possibly suicide attempts because people are jumping out in front of these things. And like once roads are fully automated, the engineers are going to have their hubris on full effect. And they're going to say, well, no one's going to do anything. And you will start having some people trying to see where the line is, where the limit is. And so we're all we're gonna figure out where all of that lands. But you know, I'm glad to see that tangibility with a vehicle is still alive and well. You know, I honestly wish that I could get a manual transmission in my Ford F-150. I know that's never going to be an option. And I'm probably a psychopath for even saying that. And I always thought it would be cool. But I do have some good news for the F-150 crew. You guys heard how delayed the Broncos have been. We had David Boyd on a couple of weeks ago. He got himself a Bronco, talked about all the issues he had. The dealership actually tried to sell it out from underneath of him. They put it in the showroom and were taking offers on it before he could get down there to pick up his custom ordered Bronco.
wow.
Because of all of that, Ford has decided, or had decided a while ago, apparently, that they were not going to let the same thing happen to the F-150 Lightning. You guys, not only is it on time, but Ford expects that they will start delivery of the first F-150 Lightnings. Again, that is the all-electric F-150, slightly early to early, whatever that means.
That's fantastic.
Have you
Coy, I
decided?
know you're not huge into the EVs, but what do you think? I mean, is Ford
Plenty into
kind
the
of-
EVs. First, I have to ask though: have you decided where you're putting your EV charging station at the track?
Yeah, we're talking about that. Yeah, they'll be there. They'll be in the parking lot, and there's no avoiding it.
Well, and since you're building a new track and the way things are going, are you going to put one in the pits?
We'll have to. Yeah,
I mean, at a certain point, you probably will have to. So
we'll have them everywhere. I mean, we're going to run power. I mean, they tell me how many miles of power we're going to need. It's a lot. But
Yeah.
I do have a 2018 F-150, and I love the EcoBoost motor. I love that twin turbo.
I've got a 2017. It's such a good motor.
Mhm.
Seriously, I don't know how it could still be underrated. And it really isn't, because the F-150 is still the best selling vehicle on the market today. But those EcoBoost motors were a total game changer, in my opinion.
Yeah.
We'll see how the Lightning does, though. I mean, people are thinking that this could be a game changer. It's got the range, it's got the power.
Yeah.
Famously, they said, you know, you can run your house off of just the F-150 batteries alone for however many days. And we're not even taking into account the still gas powered EcoBoost power banks, where they have a bank of batteries and they have a generator instead of an alternator on them. And they put out, I think it's 7.5 kilowatts at the highest. The base model is 2.3, but I believe one of them, the highest model is, I think it's 7.5 kilowatts of power. You're not going to run, you know, a 5-ton AC unit on it, but you could run that power into your house and at least keep your fridge cold and, you know, turn your TV on. Like it's kind of amazing the utilitarian side that we're starting to see out of these vehicles. It's one of the reasons why I'm excited about this F-150 Lightning, because now that you have pickup trucks, non-gimmicky pickup trucks, and don't get me wrong, you guys, I don't want to talk bad about like the Rivian. I think it's very cool. Apparently it's very capable off-road as well. But this F-150 Lightning it seems like it's bringing utility to the EV market that frankly I think has been needed.
It's definitely bringing a familiarity that, you know, the F-150 has been the best-selling truck, or best-selling, not even, I shouldn't say truck, best-selling vehicle, I believe, in America for dang near every year for, I don't know, since the mid-90s, forever. It's, if you start looking at it, it's ridiculous how many F-150s get made and sold.
Right.
And so when you have a fully EV one that works and all the numbers kind of work out, the price is a little heavy-handed, but compared to, say, the Rivian, it's no more expensive, if not cheaper. Speaking of which, I saw Rivian in the wild for the first time today. I quite like them. They're a lot smaller than I thought. They're like Jeep Gladiator-ish sized. They look great. I was leaning out the window of the giant semi I was driving, giving this guy a thumbs up, and I assume he thought I was trying to kill him or something because he turned right away. But I was watching it in the mirror and I'm like, man, those headlights are weird. They're like round, these oval rings, you know? And I was like, oh my goodness, that's a Rivian. So then I start holding up traffic by slowing down so they could get beside me so I could really scope it out. I'm a fanboy right now. I mean, just the looks, man, the fit and finish is amazing. They're a good looking vehicle.
Daniela, where do you come down on a more utilitarian EV? Like let's pretend that Subaru already had some kind of a hatchback EV and it still had all of its off-road capabilities, you know, in conjunction with these trucks and stuff like that. I mean, where do you see all of this going?
Subaru?
You went Subaru.
Yeah. That's what I was just going to say. Oh, I don't know. I mean, eventually it's all going to be that way, right? That's where I see it's going.
Maybe. And we talk about this all the time on the podcast, but you know, there's a lot of things that need to happen. The infrastructure, the batteries. Come on. We need batteries that are actually like are not harming the environment more than they're doing good. But are we happy to see and like you said, Brian, the form factor, it's an F-150. There's a familiarity there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, that's a huge move for Ford. I think it'll work out. You know, I like what Toyota and Yamaha are working on, the hydrogen Lexus, right? I mean, you guys, the 400, I think it's 470 horsepower. That's awesome. I mean, so the combustion engine, I'd hate to see it, you know, go away. But
I can't wait till we have a nice blend of hydrogen and electric vehicles on the road. That way, when there's a good wreck, the hydrogen explodes, but then the lithium battery burns for 2 weeks.
Right.
So it's the best of both worlds, you know.
Death match. Yeah.
You go down the highway making bets.
Well, I feel like I have some good news for you guys then, because if you don't want to see the gas engine and the traditional vehicle go away, we're not happy about what Stellanis has been doing. I mean, they're getting rid of their Hellcat motor. They're, you know, I mean, just hands down, they're like, by the way, we're not going to be making the big V8s. We're not going to be doing like the super high horsepower stuff, but they've just made a move into the market that I think you're going to find interesting by literally reinventing the wheel. Stellanis introduces a straight six twin turbocharged 3-liter engine that they call the Hurricane. They literally just they replicated the 2JZ.
Okay.
And I mean, how could you possibly go wrong? That's one of the most amazing, badass engines on the planet. And I think, this is just me personally, if this motor's good, if it's not a total piece of crap, and it actually has like some performance capabilities, let's just throw a number out. Let's say it's capable of making 500 horsepower without doing too many modifications. they're saying that it's going to go into a number of different Jeeps, Dodges, Ram pickups, but I honestly would not mind seeing one of these motors in, what do you think, Coy? Like a Chrysler Pacifica, right?
That was what I was gonna say right away. We all wanted the Hellcat Pacifica, the fake Hellcat Pacifica that came out. We all thought it was real for 30 seconds, realized it was another goddamn render. When have artists caused so much damage to people with their horrible renders, and we all, oh, there's a new Toyota MR2 coming out. Oh no, it's fake, but it looks super real because somebody's really good at Photoshop. No, so we all thought the Hellcat Pacifica. We all were like, "Yep, I'm a minivan guy now." So now, is it possible to fit this in a Pacifica? Could we get a Hellcat Turbo 6?
No, because the Pacifica is front wheel drive layout. I'm thinking about maybe like, well, the Jeep Compass, isn't that still a front wheel drive layout too? I know the Renegade is.
Like, have they said that this won't go anything front wheel drive? Like,
well, they haven't said that. And so and Brian, Daniela, I'm really curious to know where you come down on this. For me, when I look at something like this, it harkens back to the days of 8,000 RPM rippers, like you're banging through the gears. But as we know from the EcoBoost, it's a small displacement V6 with dual overhead cams, but its factory red line is 6,000 RPM. If this goes the same direction where the factory red line's like 5,700 RPM and it makes all of its power down low, I could not imagine anything more disappointing. Go ahead and give me your thoughts here.
I don't know, it's not going to have torque. What's the torque? When did this come out? It's the news to me.
This is all new. This is for the 2023 models. They just announced it yesterday.
Yeah. So torque, yeah, I don't know. I don't have an opinion yet. I like the inline motors.
So what it's saying is they're estimating 400 horsepower and 450 pound-feet of torque.
Okay.
So, I mean, it's going to have...
Are we just waiting to make a comment on this motor?
Yeah.
No comments.
Well, it says in the article it's got a 5,800 RPM red line, 87 octane, 91 or 90. Yeah, 91's recommended. No one can afford 91 at this moment, so hopefully they make some changes, some fuel maps changes so that we can all afford to drive it. I'm assuming it's got two tiny turbos so that you have that instant power that everybody wants. It's not going to sing the song of my people and send it up to 8,000. And if you do, well, probably not going to end real well. So
like 3 pounds of boost or something. What's it got?
Actually, you'll be surprised to know, I think they're estimating right now that it's going to make 22 to 26 pounds of boost.
Okay.
So, I mean, quite a bit. But again, like Coy said, they're teeny tiny. So their power band is going to be really, really narrow. Sure. I would love to see an engine like this get some kind of a following. And maybe that following is going to come in the form of like a drift car.
Well, there is a high output version of this motor planned as well. So I don't know if that will be the Hellcat version or how that's going to be, but they're saying over 500 horsepower, over 775 foot-pounds of torque.
There we go.
Lower compression ratio, higher boost, I can only assume, larger turbos. The high output engine is going to have its own cylinder head, crankshaft, bigger intercooler, yada yada. A little higher red line. So 6,100, a little better, but 500 horsepower, 475 foot-pounds of torque. It's weird that I can read that and think, oh, it's not that high, but that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Especially if you consider this will probably go in a Jeep Cherokee or something. So,
yeah. You guys, what would you like to see this motor put into? I mean, I know I'm not a huge fan of the Dodge lineup right at this moment, but if you could pick one Jeep or one Dodge to put this kind of engine in, what would it be?
Stratus.
Intrepid.
I thought
Now you're
it was a
talking.
comedy show.
How about a minivan?
Yeah.
That's
We're going back to the minivan.
That's where everybody wants that 500 horsepower minivan because it's so universal. Every dad wants it.
Right.
Give
Every
them-
mom wants it. They won't admit it, but they do want it.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, I mean, there's a lot of moms running late for soccer practice.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No longer. That'd be a good hook.
yeah, the late no longer.
Right.
It's just, why wouldn't you want a 500 horsepower minivan, especially if it was a small displacement twin turbo and still got 32 miles a gallon or something?
If you're going to get made fun of, you might as well be able to, haul ass.
Exactly.
That's what I'm saying. If
No.
you're a soccer mom,
Right.
let's kick it up a notch here.
Right.
So I am hopeful for this motor. The 6100 RPM redline, that's a little bit, although, let's take a more scientific look at it. Let's imagine that Dodge has been able to put together a motor here where it makes all of its power between 1800 RPM and 6000 RPM. That's a wide power band. That's a far cry from some of these big turbo high revving engines where they make nothing under 4800 RPM, and then up to 8500 RPM, it's all or nothing. It's like an on-off switch. And so, of course, drivability, that's why we have lower RPM. That's why we have under square engines, so that they make more torque than they do horsepower. That it contributes to all of the drivability. But the things that I'm thinking about with this straight six motor is it's going to be very smooth. It has the potential to honestly be a competitor to the EcoBoost.
Yep.
The only thing that I'm wondering about is the packaging, because that's a long motor, you guys. The EcoBoost V6, it's a wide motor, but it's very short.
Mhm.
That straight six is going to be long, and my concern is that that's going to limit what they're able to put it in, like the full-size trucks and the full-size Jeeps. And we may not see a small vehicle with this in it to, get some real performance out of it. But having said that, let me ask you, I don't know if you're a fan of the Charger or the Challenger. If you saw a Charger or Challenger with one of these motors in it, would it make you take pause instead of it having the V6?
I think so. Yeah. What do you guys think?
It's tough for me because I've made fun of V6 Camaros, V6 Chargers, and V6 muscle cars for a long time.
Yeah.
And having all the Japanese muscle cool cars were inline six turbo, and that's what this is. But to put it in American muscle and then be like, yeah, it's got a 500 horsepower engine, but it's only a 6-cylinder, it feels weird. The sound's going to be off. That's going to take a minute. And I really appreciate the sound or the performance that these motors have. But as the 90s kid that I am, I'm just a Honda Toyota guy at heart. And even though they only make 200 horsepower, if your red line isn't above 7,000, I'm just like, please go home. Like, come back when you're full grown. Like, we'll talk at 9, and I'm Brian being a bike guy. He's like, we'll talk at 15. Like, I don't even know. Yeah. Like, he's making fun of my 9,000 RPM, probably. So
Yeah, the party doesn't start until 10. Come on, guys.
when you get into those high RPMs and it starts making its noise, that noise, I can just feel it go down my spine just thinking about it. Just like, you get like, oh, I love those high RPM engines. And then these not low boost, but small turbos on these low RPM engines. The performance is great, but they're lacking something primal. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Sure.
you want that red line to go straight down your back and then right up your ass. I mean, just vibrate
The needle
your
needs to
inside.
start over on this side and end. It needs to do more than 180 degrees before it hits I don't need one that does like a quarter. I need the needle to come a full circle before it tacks out.
Oh my gosh, I just had the most amazing idea, you guys. What if your tachometer starts at 1, right? But then that 1 doubles as the 10. You have like the secondary number that's below it. So you hit
Yeah.
the 10 when it reaches the 1, and then you just go on past your 14, 15,000. How amazing would that be?
That'd be pretty cool.
That would be
Just saying.
amazing. And then somebody would make a watch that mirrored that, and I would buy it. Like I'd spend the $400 on that Citizen, whatever, blah blah blah.
So there's the Durango, the Dodge Durango. It'd go in that, wouldn't it?
Oh yeah, it could. But again, the Durango is 5,000 pounds. Let's keep that in mind.
Okay.
And they made a Durango Hellcat. And are you ever gonna be at peace knowing that you still have a 500 horsepower inline six Durango, but somebody else down the road has a cocaine fueled V8 in theirs? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Are they ever going to be able to live up to that with an inline six?
No.
Maybe.
I made fun of the V6s until my F-150, and then my buddy.
Oh, we all did. Yeah.
These F-150s, it's amazing. And then I got one, and then I was like, "Hey, man, that thing's so fast in sport mode." And he goes, "This thing has sport mode?" I'm like, "Dude, you need to put it in sport mode." And he like texts me back, "Thank you." So I mean, that was a game changer. So we'll see.
So Brian, I had my EcoBoost F-150 for I think about 3,500 miles, not 1,000, 3,500 miles before I put a boost controller on it.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, there was nothing finer than chasing down a brand new WRX and passing them in a full-sized F-150. But you better get the jump on them because, again, that speed limiter is like 95 miles an hour, 92 miles an hour. And so you better catch them quick because if they hit 100, they're gone.
They're gone.
It was obviously on a closed course, professional drivers, but
In Mexico. Yeah.
in Mexico.
I love my Guatemalan racing circuits.
I can get mine to 107 and it just stays there. It just, that's it. It just parks right at 107. So I take it out to the track.
We had it on the drag strip.
Yeah.
Yeah. It hauls ass.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So what drag strip are you currently using?
Yeah. So it's a defunct runway. So it's about 3/4 of a mile long. So
How long? That's been being used for years, right?
For years. Yeah. The pavement.
Okay.
It's like World War II asphalt.
But it's by Port Orchard.
Yep. Exactly.
Yeah. I have autocrossed there many times. I didn't realize that was the spot. Okay.
So we put in a motocross track there. We do beer fests. We do all kinds of fun stuff there, with the idea of moving that activity because that area got rezoned. That's the master plan. That'll be displaced. So unfortunately, that'll go away.
Oh, gotcha.
That's what started this whole thing as we back up. But yeah, that's the birth of Circuit of the Northwest is that rezoning.
I used to like to go there because I had a Civic I autocross, drive it from Oregon up there.
Oh,
I'd
nice.
switch my slicks. I'd sleep at the track, but there was like I don't know, like a campground or something that I could drive around to on the other side of the airport, and I wouldn't have to take my slicks off. I could just drive it over there because it was like 2 miles, and I'd take a shower, and I could come back and race the next day.
Perfect.
Yeah, I have a lot of nostalgia for that spot. It's been a long time since I've been there.
Nice.
Yeah, it's been a long time since I even thought about it, you guys. I would like to move on to our next segment because things that I regret was not going to that track more. Things Coy regrets is, not bringing toilet paper with him when he went to the track. And there are a lot of things that people can regret over our top 5 of the week, you guys. The Horsepower Hour presents this month's top 5 of the week today. And this week, our top 5 is the most expensive cars you can buy that have the steepest devaluation. How do you say that, Coy?
Don't. You're trying to talk to me about how to pronounce words. I have a single syllable name.
And he's got a good vocabulary, though. All right, you guys. So this is not off of any list or anything. I mean, if you go out and you start looking at which cars are going to depreciate the most, the articles are all over the place. But I'm going to tell you something right now. According to what I looked at over the last 3 or 4 days, I've been putting this list together for a little while. These are the most insane losses that you can take on an expensive luxury vehicle. Starting out number 5 is the Mercedes C-Class, the C300. The MSRP on this bad boy is about $51,000. If you buy, and we're in 2022, by the way, just for anybody that's listening to back episodes, a 2018, 2017 model of a C300 is worth $15,000-ish, give or take, for a loss of 64.8% over 5 years.
Oh, wow.
Coy, do you want to take the second one? This was your suggestion.
This one reminds me of my 401k.
I was
So
just
the
smart-ass
Porsche-
comment.
Porsche Panameras, which I'm personally always liked. They're kind of a Porsche ugly duckling, but they're like a family Porsche that you could also go to the track and race. Like they're the like Charger Hellcat of Porsches. In my
And they're
opinion.
not slow.
No, they're fast, and they got a kind of a unique ugly duckling look that I dig. But the average MSRP was only $89,750. And if today in 2022 you went to find that same model, you can pick them up for about $32,000, which blows my mind. I'm not going to buy one. I'm not a Porsche guy. I don't have the driveway. I have a gravel driveway, but I just like these cars, so I look them up every once in a while. Like, I could actually afford this car, just torture myself. But that's only a 65.4% value lost in 5 years. Like I said, like my 401k.
Daniela, I don't suppose you have our list pulled up there, do you?
I don't.
Well, this one's going to be interesting for you, since I think you're a bit of an Italian car connoisseur. Am I wrong?
Correct. It's in my DNA.
So the Maserati Quattroporte, and the thing that I love about Maserati Quattroportes is because everybody's like, ooh, sexy Quattroporte. That sounds so like sexy and European. It literally means 4 holes. So, it's one of those things.
I think that's sexy as I'll get out, whatever.
Oh my God.
The Maserati Quattroporte, you guys, which I still love, by the way. I would have one in a heartbeat. 5 years ago, MSRP was $106,385. Nowadays, that very same Quattroporte from 5 years ago, we're talking about a 2017 model, can be picked up for $33,000-ish on average for an 69.8% depreciation over 5 years, which I thought was shocking, but it's actually not the worst of our list. What do we have next, Coy?
We have the BMW. This one here, BMW 530i. Like, everybody likes BMWs, but I feel like this one, as well as really any on this list, I guess, in another 2 years could be like a reverse glow up, where it's like 5 years ago, 7 years ago, you were at the top of your game, your business is going great. Fast forward 7 years, COVID is it. Your car's now 7 years old, but it just doesn't. It now looks old and crappy, and you're like, ooh, that you like seeing a Lexus that's 10 years old. You're like, doesn't look good. Why? That was a luxury car.
It's like seeing an S2000's dashboard now.
Hey, that's personal. It's nostalgic now. Just because it looks like an alarm clock instead of high tech doesn't mean it's not cool. BMW 530i's, they MSRP'd at $55,195, and you can pick those up for $16,000 now.
Jeez.
So you could literally get a brand new, what is the Mitsubishi that's 16 grand?
The Mirage.
Yeah, brand new Mirage, or a BMW 530i with 98,000 on the mile.
What's
That
the
one-
depreciation?
535. Wow.
530i. Yeah, that's a 70.9% depreciation in value over 5 years.
But somehow that's not the worst on the list. So I have to give you guys a little insider trading. When I started making this list, I reached out to Coy and I said, obviously, it's got to be a Land Rover at the top, right? And Coy messaged me back and he said, oh, of course. I mean, how could it be any other way? And boy, I did not realize how right we were. The Land Rover Range Rover HSE has an MSRP of $104,850. Drum roll, please. A 2017 Land Rover Range Rover HSE that sold for $105,000 5 years ago is now worth $31,000 for a total depreciation over 5 years of 71.4%.
Damn.
Wow.
Horrible.
I'm speechless when I read these numbers. I mean, who would buy a car brand new that they know is going to depreciate this much? Honorable mentions are things like the Nissan Maxima, for whatever reason. Those lost a ton of value. The latest generation of Taurus, we already knew that the Taurus, I mean, it immediately lost like 45%, but that comes nowhere close to 71.5% total depreciation loss. That just, it's mind blowing to me.
And to add, injury to insult, I can't say this for every one of these cars, but most of the ones on this list, the maintenance costs on those, not good either. So not only did you lose a ton of value, you actually paid all that for that car and then threw a lot of money at it for all kinds of stuff. The Mercedes, I'm sure, had electrical problems. The Range Rover leaked all its fluids and had electrical problems and other things.
It rolled out of the factory with low compression on one cylinder.
Yeah. The Porsche was probably pretty reliable, but you needed to change the brakes once. And they're like, yeah, they're ceramic. And then we have carbon fiber, something disc, and they're like $1,800 to do, something like that. So the Maserati, God only knows.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, just swap an LS into it.
They still wore out in like 50,000 miles. They had literally 4 holes in the driver's seat at 50,000. So
you guys, can you come up with any honorable mentions that I didn't put on this list?
Rover, boy, I heard you can't even buy an extended warranty for those things.
Oh, right.
Yeah. Let me think here. What do you think?
Oh, I've got one for you. The Alfa Romeo 4C.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah, those lost a ton of value. I mean, they were fun, footloose, fancy free. They were not like functional in any way. They were not practical. It's like calling again, like a Ferrari Daytona or a Porsche 917 practical. Obviously, it's not going to be practical. I just don't think anybody expected it to lose 50% of its value.
I would like this to work in my favor, though, because those new Land Rover Defenders, those look incredible. Their off-road performance, they call it the gentleman's Jeep. Like, they have incredible off-road performance. They're crazy expensive. But if in 5 years I can pick one up for 30,000, I don't know if I'm going to say no. Those are sweet vehicles.
It's going to be 40,000, Coy. It's going to be 40,000 because you need the V8.
Well, that's true. But those are really cool rigs, and I really like them. And supposedly the newest generation of Land Rovers are having really good reliability ratings. They're actually, if you compare at like Consumer Reports, I think they're actually like neck and neck with Toyota. Now, Toyota has come down a little bit, but supposedly from Consumer Report type ratings, they're super reliable.
Well, even a blind squirrel finds an acorn once in a while.
Yeah.
Right?
Finds at least 2 nuts a day.
Listen, you guys, we've got one more segment on the way. Awesome. And this might be the most glow up that I have ever seen. A car that, frankly, 10 years ago, I wouldn't have paid $700 for. However, things have changed. And I got to be honest with you, I'm not sure I can call this a doob. I want to talk it through with you guys. I really want to get your input. So let's go ahead and get into that right now.
Smokin Deal or Smokin A Doobie.
And this week's Smokin Deal or Smokin A Doobie, something that Coy sent me. It is a 1975 Toyota Celica ST Sport Coupe 2-door. It's not a GT. I don't even know if they made a GT back then. Did they, Coy?
I'm near certain they did, which
Well, it
is part of the reason I picked this, because if this was a GT fastback, this wouldn't be as much of a question for me. It would be expensive, but 25,000, I don't know. I think he'd sell it. But this one, it's an ST. So, I mean, it's tough to call this.
Yeah. So it again, Coy said it, $25,000 for this. Let me go ahead and quickly go through the description here. Selling my 75 coupe. And this might be like an S13 hatchback versus sedan kind of a thing. The hatchbacks were real popular for a long time. I even had a hatchback, 240SX S13, but the coupes ended up having a little bit more value in the end. People didn't want the hatchbacks quite so much. So there could be a little bit of that going on. This is a 20R, 22R hybrid, and how those operate is they have the 20R head on the 22R block. So you've got the 2.2 liter head on a 2.4 liter block. This one has 10.2 to 1 compression ratio pistons, H-beam rods, stainless steel valves that are oversized, giant Crowler cam, beehive springs, yada 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 yada. It's still
We're
got
probably talking what, 168 horsepower. Yeah.
I think you guys are overestimating, but
Oh, look, I'm talking sea level at Redline. Okay.
With some carb tuning, maybe. It's got an 8-gallon fuel cell. It's got the rebuilt W50 transmission. As far as I can tell, W50 transmissions are not known for being super tough, but at 150 horsepower, the tire, it's probably not going to make that much of a difference. It's got AE86 Toyota control arms and AGX strut cartridges, so they're valve adjustable, single way adjustable valving for the front struts. Lots of suspension work. Built the car for autocross, probably a bit overkill for the city streets is what he says. All new seals, bushings, weather stripping, hoses, belts, heavily soundproofed, new carpets, new interior panels, rebuilt window regulators, new windshield, LED lighting mods, tucked wiring, frost blue metallic matte wrap over color matched primer sealer. So this, as you see the car right now, this is a wrap. This is not paint. I don't know if that affects the way you guys view this at all, but we'll start going through some photos here. A Toyota Celica is not something that I had considered for restoration before. Brian, Daniela, what do you think about classic JDM cars getting restorations now?
I like it. Yeah. Where's this car at?
It's in Albany, Oregon.
Oh, wow. We have a Pac West race there tomorrow and Sunday.
Well, you could pick it up.
Motocross.
There you go.
Yeah.
I live just 20 miles away from there.
I know. Look at that.
Yeah, so here you're seeing the dual side draft carburetors going straight into the motor.
I'm not going to pretend that side drafts don't turn me on. I've owned like one carbureted vehicle in my life, but man, I love the look of side drafts.
It was a Toyota.
Yeah, it was actually a 22R in that motor, so or in that vehicle, but it was not this cool.
I got to tell you guys, the front end of this thing, especially with that air dam splitter in the front, it looks mean. I do like the way these look, and I always have.
Yeah, I like it. I think it's cool. Look at that matte wrap.
It's definitely got kind of a mini Mustang thing going on. I always thought these old Celicas, especially the fastbacks, had like this mini pony car thing going on. I always loved the fastbacks. They started going up in value a long time ago. These you could pull out of Breyers and stuff until just a few years ago, and you could pick these up for anything. But we've been seeing, Celicas, especially the Datsun 280s, 240s, 260s, those 240Zs, man. The prices on those literally out of a briar patch, and they're 10 grand. You can see they have rusted speed holes in the floorboard, and they're like 10 grand.
Daniela, how are these tickling, or how is this particular car tickling your Italian sensibilities?
My dad had a black one when I was younger, so thumbs up.
Oh, you've got some nostalgia for it then.
I do.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. I gotta say, I mean, I know this is a very Japanese car, but it definitely has a Mambo Italiano feel to me. I mean, look at the way the front bumper, the chrome front bumper wraps around, the integrated side markers with it. I mean, this is a very cool looking car. Even the bulging hood, even though it doesn't have some, big monster V8 in it or whatever. I mean, it's got a really good classic look to it. However,
Growing.
you guys,
Yeah, there's a big butt coming.
Yeah, it is.
there is a big butt coming, and the big butt is $25,000.
Wow.
Now, Brian, Daniela, Coy has a thing that he likes to do where he just does a quick little bit of head math where he goes, what is this going to cost me to replicate? So
yeah, let's play that game, Andy.
yeah, Coy, take us down the yellow brick road here. What do you think?
No, it's a little tough for me because I haven't looked at briar patch versions of these in a long time, and I don't have a super accurate number on what a non-running one in a trailer park you drive by, knock the door, hey, you want to sell this?
Right.
But I'm gonna make an educated guess that you can get one under $5,000 non-running in someone's driveway somewhere. I think that's probably more than what you could get an old beater one for.
Mm-hmm.
The A86 control arms and stuff. Let's go ahead and say he has $1,000 in that. Put another $1,000 in shocks. We've got her up to $7,000. Wheels and tires there. Those look like Panasport knockoffs to me. They could be real, but I doubt it. Let's put another $1,000 for rubber and tires. Transmission and motor. Now you can actually sink quite a bit into a 22R here.
Mm-hmm.
I'll give him $5,000. I'm gonna say you could easily sink $5,000 into one of those.
And I'm sorry, hold on a second, Coy. What'd you say, Brian?
Is that a fuel cell?
That's an 8-gallon fuel cell in the back.
Wow. Any interior pictures? Maybe it's suede. You don't know.
Let's see here. He's got some build photos of the interior. So here's a shot of all the sound dampening going in. Here's a shot of the new carpet going in.
Okay.
Photos of the motor. You know what? You make a good point. I don't see any photos of like a completed interior, do I?
No.
I'm not seeing any either.
Huh.
There's shots of the motor being built.
Well, no good shots. I mean, I can see what looks like factory seats that are tan leather or something going on there. Maybe even vinyl.
Maybe he's got a big stereo system that, is pumping the price up.
Maybe it'll be one of those situations where he says, if you want it without the stereo and the wheels, it'll be $8,000.
Take it out. You lowball me, I'm taking it out.
All right, Coy. Sorry, please continue, sir.
So what do we got? We're at 13,000 there.
Yeah.
He didn't paint it. He vinyled it. That's the biggest one for me. A good paint job, man. Those can run, a restorative paint job. If you took it down to the frame and run crazy money, they got to put that on the big trundle and spin it and sandblast the whole thing. But he took the easy route. He primered it and threw vinyl over it. I love the way vinyl looks, but it only costs, a professional with good vinyl, I feel like $2,000 is giving him a little benefit of the doubt.
But it's definitely a short-term solution to a long-term problem.
Exactly. In the resale, I feel like vinyl is worth nothing where paint is worth everything. So
yeah.
I feel like if I just took my wallet and started just flinging money out, I could recreate this car for $17,000 pretty easily. So that makes it a little tough for me. There's always could be stuff that I don't know about on this car, though.
There's a lot of gaps left here. Brian, Daniela, give us your thoughts so far.
Yeah, to me, it's I don't want to say throwing good money after bad, but it's just not. I like it. I liked it at first, but the more I'm looking at it, it wouldn't be for me. I'm thinking 12 max.
I'm gonna say I'm pretty close with you there. I don't know why he threw it up at this price. There's no way he has that much money into it. unless he's trying to get paid for his labor. And we all know that you don't, you can do all the work you want on your car. You're not going to get labor out of it.
A project car is the quickest way to turn $1,000 car that you put $20,000 into a $3,000 car.
Yeah, exactly. You're looking to lose money on parts and labor. So I see this selling squarely on the market, that $12,000, maybe even a touch less, $10,000. He could go a little more, but I think you nailed it. That's a $10,000 ish car to me on the open market. Now, for me, I'm going to go ahead and just throw out my personal price.
Hold on, Coy. Don't taint the pool here.
All right,
Daniela,
wait.
Just looking at this car, knowing what you know, just base numbers now. I mean, what would you, if you saw that this sold and you were able to see what the price was that it sold for, what would you kind of expect?
Doesn't have 4-wheel drive. What price?
10.
Ooh.
10.
Mm-hmm.
So you're going low. See, it's so strange, Brian, that you said 12, because I was actually thinking like 12, 5, 13 is the max, and that would be to somebody in California.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking somewhere, I think we're spot on, to be perfectly honest. I think somewhere in the 10 to 12,000 range is realistically what you could expect to get out of this vehicle. But what Coy was alluding to just a moment ago was not what we think it'll sell for. It's what you would pay if it was parked at your neighbor's house, and the neighbor just said, "This is my bottom dollar," and you were like, "I can't pass it up for that price." So go ahead, Coy.
For me, my neighbor walks out. This has been sitting in his garage. He's like, "I'm moving to Alaska tomorrow. This thing has to go. Like, make me an offer. Like, I almost have to take it." It's tough for me. I do like these. I love the fastbacks so much more, like a 77 fastback Celica.
Yeah.
The value would increase so much to me, and pretty much the open market. This value would increase a lot if it was a fastback GT. This being an ST with that, it's a sharp car, and I do love ugly, weird Toyotas. So I gotta say, if he had it up for $5,000, I'd have a hard time saying no. Like, that 22R motor is worth that. Like, I feel like I could part it out and make my money back. 5, maybe even $6,000. I'm gonna go 6.
Ooh.
I feel like I could get my money back in parts at $6,000. So, and it's cool, and I can always convince my wife, be like, "Hey, I could part this thing out, and I could make our money back, or it's cool. We could take it out on a date night, kind of hot shoe it around." I think I could talk the wife into it at $6,000. I would love to own it for $6,000. I'd give him $6,000 right now for it.
Brian, this is the problem with Coy and I. We've been friends our entire lives. Coy's actually my cousin, believe it or not. We grew up together. And I was sitting here thinking about it, even while we were just talking about what would this thing realistically sell for on the open market. And I was sitting here thinking to myself, I'd pay 6 for that. I'd pay 6,000. And then you see what Coy does? Like, he steals my thunder by stealing my number. So now we get to hear from you guys. Brian, go ahead and start us off. What would you pay for, like, what's your bottom dollar? You can't pass it up.
Yeah, I'd pay $8,000 all day long for that thing.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, the used car market, it's on fire. There's no supply. Come on.
Oh, you'd still be, I think you could pay $8,000 for that and turn around and sell it for more. I honestly believe that. So
yeah. It's like the Price is Right. So
yeah,
I bid you guys.
$6,001, Bob.
I was about to say Daniela is probably going to say $1 is what I'd pay.
I would probably pay 5.
You're in it for 5.
That's it. Yep.
Your dad probably bought his brand new for like $2,300 too. And he'd have a heart attack when he found out you paid 5 for one that was 4 years old.
Yes, I'm calling him and asking.
Yeah. You're a little out of it, to be honest. This guy's asking $25,000 for this thing.
He is.
Is he going to come kick our ass for like just trashing and lowballing his?
It hasn't happened yet, but again, I'm living in Florida now, so if anybody's going to get it, it's going to be Coy.
I have been trying to get people to come fight me for years. Like, it is my hope that someone like physically assaults me for words I say. I feel like that's the ultimate, that you can make someone so angry with your words they attack you. Like
Right.
how powerful are you? Like your wizard status at that point. So I hope someone does fight me over a deal doob.
Right.
Well, listen, you guys, all of you out there watching and listening, is it a deal? Is it a doob? Drop your thoughts in the comments. We do want to hear from you. Maybe we have no idea what we're talking about. We're just, two dudes that have been racing cars for years, guy that's building a racetrack, and a young lady that has sold every available space on that racetrack. So what do we know? If you're a Toyota expert, you jump in here and you tell us, is it a deal? Is it a doob? Are we way off? Or are we right where we need to be? But either way, that is our deal or doob of the day.
Smokin Deal or Smokin A Doobie.
And I'm going to tell you guys right now, when I saw this vehicle, I was not expecting it to have the 22R. There's a pair of brothers here in the Pacific Northwest, Matt and what is his brother's name?
I have no idea.
Panic. The
Somebody
Panic
probably
brothers.
said they'll fight me for free right now. So
Right.
He's only saying that because he's in Louisiana, Coy.
oh, well, go fight Andy. He's not even that far from you.
Actually, this is my buddy Logan. He's going to be here in like 5 days. We're celebrating his birthday here in Panama City.
Please just open the door and punch him. For me.
I'm gonna give him the Will Smith smack.
Yeah.
But no, Matt Panic and his brother, whose name I'm so sorry if they're listening. I forget what your name is. I apologize. But they have these. They have a couple of 76, 78 Toyota Celicas, and they have the Beams 3S GE. It's 9,000 RPM, 2-liter inline 4, right, Coy?
Yes, it's a inline 4. Is it I feel like it's bigger than a 2-liter though.
No, I'm pretty sure it's a 2-liter. It came in the Toyota Altezza in Japan, and it's made it to a 6-speed manual transmission, and they swapped those motors in, and they're absolute barnstormers, absolute rippers. Even for those, I would not pay $25,000. I'd probably be in the $14,000-15,000 range, because quite frankly, you can get one of those Beams motors with the transmission for, I think, $3,500 on the secondary market. So it'd probably be cheaper to do one of those than it would be to rebuild the 22R. And so that's a big hindrance for me. That's the reason why I'm not saying that I would pay more, because even though it's original and even though it's restored, air quotes, restored, you had an opportunity to give it a more modern powertrain. And I feel like that's a lost opportunity.
I can agree with you. 22Rs, like if you're a 22R guy, you're a 22R guy though. They have a cult following. So even though it's a cult following of 163 horsepower on like your best day, but it's still a following. Honestly, at $25,000, I expected to have a 2J in there and like tubbed out giant drag wheels, slicks and some kind of crazy setup and a perfect interior. Like you better be able to cook, clean, and be beautiful for $25,000.
Right. That's right.
Where do you guys land on resto mods, by the way? I mean, if you had been looking at this vehicle instead of the 22R that it had from the factory, let's say it had something bizarre and outlandish. Let's say it had like a 3-rotor, RX-7 motor, a 20B with single turbo. We're then talking about like a $25,000 car. But again, as horsepower goes up, my dollar amount goes up. That's what Coy always likes to say.
Yeah.
So if you saw this thing and it had 600 horsepower, are we starting to get closer to that 25,000?
Too much power for that car. Ugh.
Ooh, so diminishing returns on that, huh?
Turns, yeah. Then you got suspension issues and roll center and all kinds of stuff.
Just tell everyone you're a coward when you say that. Like, oh, it's just too much for me.
We turn our
It's
deal
too much
doob
for everybody, but you never admit it.
We turn our deal doob
Yeah.
into a fabricated suicide.
I feel like what happened here, you guys are familiar with Radwood, right? The
Yeah.
retro-ish car show. I feel like this guy, cool, super cool ride. Worth a lot of money for as old as Celica is. Like it's legit. somebody spent too much time at too many Radwoods
Yeah.
and got in their head about what their car was worth.
Mhm.
Yeah, I agree. Well, you guys, there is only one thing that needs to be in your head right now, and that is the Circuit of the Northwest. Your website is www.circuitofthenorthwest, spelled all out, .com. People can go over there. They can see layouts of the track. They can see the current news. Matter of fact, they can even see your two lovely faces over there in the
We have another
about section.
website.
Yeah.
Can we plug another website?
Please do.
Yeah.
So www.joincnw.com has more pictures. You can get a better feel of what we are going to have there.
I'm sorry.
Join CNW, is that right?
Yep.
Joincnw.com.
Since we're live on video right now, I'm going to pull that up. I just want to see what exactly is going on. But if you guys are listening on the podcast, the links to everything that we've been talking about today and to the Circuit of the Northwest and to joincnw.com are all going to be in the description of the podcast. I do hope that you hit those links and go and check out everything that these guys are doing, because I mean, honestly, this is so important to the automotive community. Even if you don't live in Washington or Oregon or whatever driving distance is for you from this new track, you have to support it. You have to support it because this is important, what these guys are doing. If you sleep on this and then you have trouble getting a track in your area, you have to know that support somewhere is support everywhere. So it is imperative that you go and check them out. You go to their Facebook page, you leave them a like, throw some comments down on what these guys are doing. It's never going to disappoint. Matter of fact, Brian, Daniela, I follow your personal Facebook pages, and it warms my heart to see the kind of automotive content, just sheer automotive content that you're putting out there every single day. Your Facebook stories, your Instagram stuff, all of that. As a matter of fact, please go ahead and plug your social medias for me if you wouldn't mind.
So my personal one is Daniela Lee Lewis on Facebook, and then go ahead, Brian.
I'm Brian Nilsen. Facebook. Really?
Really, Brian?
Brian, you gotta memorize your cover better than that. Okay, we can't be sending you out on ops like this without a little more homework.
No.
But again, it is at Circuit of the Northwest, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
at Circuit of the Northwest.
And folks, you got to go out there. You have to check that out. Again, this is so important what they're doing. And the track looks amazing, by the way. You're going to find yourself in the Pacific Northwest at a certain point. Like Yellowstone's going to erupt. Everything's going to blow through the Midwest. You're going to want to get out of there. You're going to have a couple of choices. You can come down and live in Florida with me, or you can go to the Pacific Northwest. Clearly, if you're going to the Pacific Northwest, you have to check out the Circuit of the Northwest.
That's fine. Go to Florida with Andy. Everybody.
Right.
And also for everybody who's an F1 fan, and you're like, man, I sure wish F1 could come to the Northwest if we just had a world-class track. Like, I can't speak for what happens in the future, but if there was a snowball's chance, you guys are building the track for it. So
This is true.
Yeah,
This
we'll
is very true.
we'll be FIA homologated. Grade 1 is a stretch right now, but the team, it knows to leave some room here and there for expanded growth in the future, because we'll be there a while. So we'll have we have a 50-year lease with the Port of Bremerton, and we can't predict the future, but we do know F1 wants to expand in North America, and I think they want to be in the Northwest at some point. So. Makes a lot of sense, but wouldn't that be a dream? We're going to be grade 2, want to come to market as a grade 2 so we can have everything but F1, but who knows what the future holds, guys.
Well, we have some connections with the IndyCar teams. Meyer Shank, we've got a connection over there. So if we can, help you get maybe some open wheel racing in the form of IndyCar first, and then, sky's the limit.
Yeah, we have a letter of intent from David Chang. He's an LMP2 driver, IMSA. They'll be fielding a team in 2023, so he'll be headquartering at Circuit of the Northwest, and I would imagine more teams will follow. We're going to create a technology cluster there, with education. It'll be a great spot for some headquartering, some teams. So here we go. We're getting started, and we're doing it right. We're being methodical. Daniela's doing a great job forming relationships in this region. So
filling our membership with local people from the Pacific Northwest. It's been amazing.
Yeah, our founders group's only 100, right? I mean, there's just thousands of people that we're not going after like quantity, we're going after quality. So we're methodically taking our time working through our partnerships with Haggerty and with Griots, Avance members. We do targeted advertising, so it's not a mass call, if you will. So we're doing a good job forming that group, and it's going to be very dynamic. It'll have a charitable aspect, and people that are fun and fun to be around. That's important in any membership, that you're a part of, that like-mindedness, and so we're doing a good job. Daniela's doing awesome building that group, and we're excited to get going.
Yeah.
Scraping dirt this fall, popping stumps. So we want to get you guys up there. Maybe you can take a vacation here sometime soon.
Yeah.
When you get pavement down, I'm super fun, I've been told. So go ahead and just tell me what fake rock the gate key's under, and I will just slide in there with my MR2, and
He'll let himself in.
I'll let myself in, and then I'll let myself out. You'll barely know I was there. So
Give you my number, we'll let you in.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. All right. Hey, listen, you guys, you've been awesome guests. Thank you so much for being on. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, appreciate you guys having us, man. Maybe we can do it
thank you
again.
so much.
Oh, absolutely, you guys. Honestly, I can't wait for the next one. We'll probably schedule after the podcast. Coy, you can be found pretty much everywhere, right? At the Horsepower Hour on all social media. Coy's there to answer your questions, huh?
absolutely, you can find us on all the Horsepower Hour media. Just put in my name, and I will answer any question you have, and I might answer questions you don't have if you try hard. So
Sure. And if you're looking to fist fight, Coy's there for it, man.
Right.
I got a special headbutt move that'll come out of left field. So
That's what I'm saying, man. And of course, on all social media at the Horsepower Hour. TikTok is _horsepower_hour. And we're going to have the website up real soon, you guys. So be looking out for that. We do want to thank you for tuning in. We want to thank you for telling a friend about the podcast. It really is what keeps us going. It keeps the wind in our sails. It keeps this ship rolling forward. And we could not do it without you guys telling a friend about the podcast. So thank you for doing that. Huge thank you to Brian and Daniela from the Circuit of the Northwest. Thank you, Coy. And for Coy, Brian, and Daniela, this is Andy. We will see you next time.
No.
All right.